At 3:17 a.m. local time on October 22, 2025, Security Supervisor Dmitry Volkov completes his hourly perimeter check at the Ryazan Oil Refinery on 110 miles southeast of Moscow. Everything is exactly as it should be. Motion sensors online, camera feeds clear, the fence lines secure. Beyond the perimeter, darkness stretches across the frozen landscape. Inside the facility, 17 distillation towers process 240,000 barrels of crude oil every 24 hours. The refined products, diesel, gasoline, jet fuel, flow through pipelines to military depots across western Russia. This single facility supplies fuel for approximately 12% of Russian ground forces operating in Ukraine. Two Pantsir S-1 short-range air defense systems guard the perimeter, each worth $15 million. Radar coverage extends 20 kilometers in every direction. The security plan accounts for cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, aircraft strikes, even sabotage teams on the ground. On the monitor wall, thermal cameras show the heat signatures of the processing towers, vast columns of infrastructure representing millions of dollars in machinery. Outside, 180 meters above the frozen fields, something moves through the darkness. It's not on the screens, it's not triggering the motion sensors. The Pantsir radar sweeps the sky in regular intervals, searching for threats traveling at 200 meters per second or faster. This threat is traveling at 18 meters per second. It weighs 4.2 kilograms. Cost to manufacture, $180. Flight time remaining, 4 minutes. 3 more are right behind it, approaching from different vectors. 2 more will arrive in 7 minutes. What Volkov doesn't know will cost everything. The Pantsir S-1 systems positioned around the facility are designed to intercept threats moving at high speed and high altitude. Minimum engagement altitude, 15 meters. Minimum target speed for reliable tracking, 100 meters per second. The system's radar frequency sweeps the sky in a predictable pattern every 4.2 seconds. It's searching for fast movers, heat signatures, radar reflective surfaces. What the system isn't designed to detect: small, slow, low-flying objects made primarily of plastic and foam. The drones approaching Ryazan are first-person view racing quadcopters, modified for extended range. Commercial components purchased online: carbon fiber frames, brushless motors, lithium polymer batteries. Total parts cost for each unit less than $200, but the payload makes them lethal. Each drone carries 2 kilograms of thermite-based incendiary compound. The payload burns at 2,200 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt steel, hot enough to ignite petroleum vapor, hot enough to turn a puncture into an inferno. Ukrainian intelligence has been watching the Ryazan facility for months. Satellite imagery, intercepted communications, reports from local sources who photographed the facility from public roads. They know the layout, they know which towers process which products. Most importantly, they know the facility's weakness. Oil refineries are designed with safety mechanisms to prevent catastrophic failure. Pressure relief valves vent petroleum vapor to prevent explosions. Under normal circumstances, that vapor disperses safely. But if you can ignite it at the source, if you can turn the safety mechanism into an accelerant, the fire spreads faster than suppression systems can respond. The attack plan is elegant in its simplicity. Wave 1: 4 drones, spaced 90 seconds apart, targeting the primary distillation towers in the western processing section. Each drone will impact where vapor venting is concentrated. The thermite ignites the vapor ignites the structure. Wave 2: 2 drones, arriving 7 minutes after Wave 1 begins. By then, emergency crews will be mobilized, focused on the western section. These drones target the eastern tank farm, where 45,000 cubic meters of refined fuel products sit in storage tanks. The goal: overwhelm the fire response. At 3:53 a.m., the first drone crosses the perimeter fence at an altitude of 22 meters. The Pantsir radar sweeps past it without registering a threat. The first indication that something is wrong comes from refinery operator Yevgeny Sokolov monitoring Tower 7. At 3:54 a.m., he notices a pressure fluctuation, minor. within normal parameters, but unusual for this time of night. The tower's external camera feed shows a flash of light, a bright, white-hot point of light near the top of the tower, exactly where the vapor relief valve is located. The light intensifies, spreads, and then the vapor ignites. The flame is blue-white at first, pure petroleum vapor burning in open air. Then it finds the tower's external insulation. The insulation is rated for high temperatures, but not for 2,200-degree thermite. It ignites. The fire spreads across the tower's surface in seconds. Sokolov hits the emergency alarm. In the control room, Volkov sees multiple alerts light up simultaneously. Fire detection, pressure warnings, temperature spikes. He activates the facility-wide alarm. That's when Tower 4 ignites. 90 seconds after the first strike, the second drone impacts on the opposite side of the western processing section. Same target profile, vapor relief valve, thermite payload, instant ignition. This tower is processing a lighter, crude fraction. The vapor is more volatile. The fire spreads faster. At 3:56 a.m., Tower 9 ignites. Then Tower 12. 4 fires spread across 300 meters of processing infrastructure. The automatic suppression systems are dividing their capacity across multiple targets. None of them are receiving enough foam, enough water, enough coolant to actually suppress the flames. The refinery's emergency response team, 24 trained firefighters, deploys in 3 units. They're focused on preventing the fires from reaching the main pipeline junction. If the flames spread there, the entire facility becomes unsalvageable. They don't know about Wave 2 yet. In the air, 140 meters above the facility, a Pantsir S-1 radar continues its sweep pattern. It has detected something now, multiple small objects moving at low speed. But the system's targeting computer is struggling to classify them. Too small for missiles, too slow for aircraft. An operator 80 meters underground in a hardened bunker watches a radar screen that shows the objects appearing and disappearing as they move through the radar's blind spots. He reports possible drone activity, requests permission to engage. Permission is granted at 3:58 a.m. The first drone in Wave 2 crosses the perimeter fence at 3:59 a.m. The Pantsir system fires at 4 o'clock a.m. The 30mm autocannon sends a burst of 40 rounds into the sky. The targeting computer calculates lead, elevation, wind compensation. The rounds pass within 3 meters of the target. The drone continues its approach, unaffected. The problem is speed. The Pantsir's autocannon is designed to engage fast-moving targets where even a near miss creates enough shockwave and shrapnel to cause catastrophic damage. But these drones are moving at 18 meters per second. The rounds pass by too quickly. There's no shockwave effect at this velocity differential. The Pantsir fires again. Another miss. By the time the operator realizes he needs to adjust his firing solution, the drones from Wave 2 have reached their targets. Tank Farm 3, eastern section of the facility. The storage tanks here hold refined products, diesel fuel, aviation kerosene, high-octane gasoline. Each tank is 20 meters in diameter, 12 meters tall. The tanks are separated by concrete blast walls designed to contain fires. The drones don't target the tanks themselves. They target the piping. Each tank connects to a network of pipes that move fuel in and out of storage. The pipes are steel, thick-walled, designed for high pressure. But at the junctions where pipes connect to valves, where they transition through the concrete blast walls, there are access points, maintenance hatches, sensor housings, pressure relief systems. The first drone impacts pipe junction 7B. The thermite burns through the steel housing in 4 seconds. Diesel fuel, under pressure, sprays into the air. The thermite ignites it. The spray becomes a jet of flame. The second drone hits Tank 11's pressure relief system. Aviation kerosene vapor vents directly into the thermite. The explosion is not large. Fuel vapor in open air doesn't create the overpressure of a confined detonation, but it's violent enough. The pressure relief system fails. The tank begins venting uncontrolled vapor. The vapor ignites. The fire spreads across the tank's roof. Now the refinery's emergency teams face an impossible choice. The western processing towers are still burning. The fires have spread to secondary structures. 3 towers are at risk of structural failure. If they collapse, they'll damage the pipeline junction. The eastern tank farm is now generating its own crisis. Tank 11 is burning out of control. The flames are heating Tank 12, which holds high-octane gasoline. If Tank 12's temperature continues rising, it will reach its flash point. When that happens, the explosion will be catastrophic. The fire crews split their forces. Half move to the tank farm, half remain at the processing towers. Neither group has enough resources to fully suppress their fires. At 4:04 a.m., smoke from the facility is visible from 30 kilometers away. Satellite imagery will later show the thermal signature is detectable from orbit, a bright orange bloom against the dark Russian landscape. At 4:07 a.m., Tower 9 suffers a structural failure. The upper section collapses into the lower processing unit. The impact ruptures a fuel line. The fire spreads to the pipeline junction. At 4:12 a.m., Tank 12 reaches flashpoint temperature. The explosion is heard in Ryazan city center, 18 kilometers away. By dawn, the fires are still burning. Satellite imagery captured at 6:15 a.m. shows 11 distinct fire signatures across the Ryazan facility. 4 distillation towers are completely destroyed. 3 more are damaged beyond repair. Tank farm. 3 has lost 6 storage tanks. The pipeline junction is offline. Sections of it melted into unusable wreckage. Emergency crews from 3 surrounding cities have arrived to assist. Military fire teams with specialized equipment are on scene. They're no longer trying to save the facility. They're trying to prevent the fire from spreading to Tank Farm 1, which holds 67,000 cubic meters of crude oil awaiting processing. Russian state media reports a technical malfunction at the refinery. Initial statements claim the fire is under control, that fuel production will resume within days. By afternoon, those statements are quietly revised. The facility will be offline for scheduled maintenance. International observers tell a different story. Maxar Technologies releases satellite imagery showing the extent of the damage. Independent analysts estimate the facility has lost 40% of its processing capacity. Reconstruction will take months, possibly years. Costs to repair? Approximately 8 billion rubles, roughly $87 million, but the strategic impact exceeds the physical damage. The Ryazan Refinery processed 240,000 barrels of crude oil per day. That production is now eliminated. The fuel that would have supplied Russian military units in occupied territories, that would have powered logistics convoys, that would have filled the tanks of armored vehicles, it no longer exists. Russian military planners now face a logistics problem. They must reroute fuel supplies from other refineries already operating at capacity. They must extend supply lines, increasing vulnerability. They must make choices about which units receive priority fuel allocation. More importantly, they must confront a new reality. If Ryazan can be hit 110 miles from Moscow, protected by air defense systems, then nowhere is safe. The Lukoil refinery in Volgograd, the Gazprom facility in Omsk, the Rosneft installation in Samara. Every major refinery in Western Russia is now within range of the same tactic. The cost calculation is devastating. To defend against this threat, Russia must deploy air defense systems at every critical facility. But Pantsir systems aren't effective against slow, low-flying drones. They need different systems. Expensive, requiring trained operators, needed in Ukraine for tactical air defense. Russia can protect its infrastructure or protect its frontline forces, not both. Ukraine has demonstrated a capability that cost approximately $200 in drone hardware to eliminate $87 million in infrastructure while removing 240,000 barrels per day of fuel production from Russian military logistics. The return on investment is staggering. If you found this analysis valuable, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more tactical breakdowns of modern warfare. We analyze the innovations, strategies, and technologies changing how wars are fought. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on drone warfare evolution. The attack on Ryazan Refinery reveals something fundamental about 21st century warfare. It's not about matching your enemy's capabilities, it's about identifying the gaps between what they've prepared for and what's actually possible. Russia invested hundreds of millions of dollars in air defense systems designed to stop the threats they understood: fast missiles, high-altitude bombers, sophisticated cruise weapons. They built defenses optimized for conventional warfare, for the threats that dominated military thinking for the past 40 years. Ukraine responded with technology that cost less than a smartphone. This is asymmetric warfare at its most effective. Not because the drones are particularly sophisticated, they're not. Not because the tactics are revolutionary, they're actually quite simple. The effectiveness comes from exploiting the fundamental mismatch between defensive investments and offensive innovation. Every Pantsir S-1 system costs $15 million. Training the crew takes months. Maintaining the system requires specialized parts, technical expertise, logistical support. You can't rapidly manufacture more of them. You can't quickly deploy them everywhere they're needed. The drones that defeated that system cost $200 each. They can be assembled in a workshop. The operators learn to fly them in days, not months. If you lose one, you build another. If the enemy adapts, you modify the design. The iteration cycle is measured in weeks, not years. This is the challenge facing every modern military with high-value infrastructure to protect. How do you defend against threats where the attacker's investment is 1/1000th of your own? Where they can afford to fail 99 times and still come out ahead? Russia is learning this lesson at a cost of billions of rubles in destroyed infrastructure, millions of barrels in lost fuel production, and a logistics crisis that compounds with every successful strike. Ukraine continues to demonstrate that in modern warfare, creativity and precision can overcome raw industrial might. That intelligence and innovation can substitute for massive defense budgets. That a small team with commercial technology can achieve strategic effects that would have required an air campaign a generation ago. The Ryazan refinery burned because someone asked a simple question: what if we don't fight the war they're prepared for? That question is reshaping the battlefield, and it's a question military planners around the world are now being forced to answer. What do you think is the next target that becomes vulnerable to this approach? Share your analysis in the comments below.